peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from the Republic of Kenya and in London and in the political command center of Punchline Africa Television. Thank you very much for coming to this show, Diplomatic Links. This show is a show that looks at Africa. It's a show. This morning we have been looking at similar things like those in Zimbabwe. In Kenya, you are not alone in Zimbabwe. We also have a problem in Kenya. Our Chief Justice has turned a monster. Our Chief Justice is being used by external forces to dismember this country, to create a paralysis, to create a polarized state, to regime change a state in Kenya. But for us in Kenya, we have been fighting them for a long time, and we always win. And we want to get experiences of how regime change, how people create a crisis in African country, surround an African country, send embargoes, sanctions, then lastly come to dismember it. Zimbabwe has gone through quite a lot. Our case study this morning is Zimbabwe and Kenya. But before I do that and make my few remarks and allow the panel, I want to tell you that if you want to join this conversation, our number, Zoom number is 8320. I repeat, 399-535-8320. And our ID number for you to enter is 503670. You can join us anytime, at any time, and make a contribution. Thank you very much, all of you, the panel, a loaded panel from Zimbabwe, and a loaded panel from Kenya. Thank you very much, Miriam, in the general headquarters of Punchline Africa Television, miles and miles away from me. Good morning, Miriam.
Very good morning to you, Doctor, and a very good morning to our panelists and also to our viewers wherever they're watching us from this morning.
Thank you very much. I will begin by introducing guests, new guests on the show. Good morning, Lynette Mudehwa from Zimbabwe, Harare. You are a lawyer by profession. We have lawyers in Kenya misbehaving. Are yours misbehaving also? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm not in Harare, I'm in Zimbabwe, but I'm in Manicaland, is the eastern part of Zimbabwe. And I'm not a lawyer by profession. I am a science teacher by profession and an activist by calling.
Oh, thank you very much. A science teacher by profession, an activist by by the struggle of patriotism. Thank you very much. And new person on the panel also is Lawrence Murinye. Lawrence Murinye, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Tatenda Baba.
It's not tender.
Yeah, thank you very much. Your background?
Okay, I am in Harare. I am a network marketing professional. I specialize in distribution of youth products.
Youth products?
Yes.
Oh, that is great. I think the youth here, the one below you here, that one with the suit, will benefit quite a lot from your experiences in Harare. Next
Thank you.
Is Amai Abigail Mupambi. We have missed you on the show. Just let's test the microphones.
Thank you so very much. And I will always repeat, my name is Abigail Mupambi. I am a civic society leader from Zimbabwe, a human rights defender, but currently I am in Matebeleland North District, right at my home area in Bubi District. So I'm in Matebeleland North today. I'm not in Harare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matebeleland North, which is near Rupane. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Aha!
Yes.
I know the geography of Zimbabwe in a place called Rupane. Yes, Tatenda Rupane. My people there, I know you have visited that place for a long time. I never go wrong.
La vie, comment va?
Yes, thank you very much. A few words. Mr. Maganza has been on this slide or show before. He's one of the few elders who hammers these points quietly and strongly. A veteran like me. We are all war veterans. I am a fighter also against any form of injustice. I started fighting in 1978 at a younger age in those areas of Nachingwea, Ruvuma, Tabora, Mwanza, Dodoma, Dar es Salaam, Morogoro, Mtwara. Those are my areas of those with Chiwenga and the rest of us. Yes, here I am today, grown, but still fighting for Africa. Thank you very much, Mr. Magwaza.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Joining us from Paris is none other than Ghana Maina. Ghana Maina, you are from Paris. How are you, sir? You should, yes. Is it Ghana Maina? Oh, you are gone. You are still online, but switch off your mute, unmute. From Paris is Ghana Maina. Thank you very much. Saxon Vima. Zima, how are you, sir? How are you, Saxon? Yes. Thank you very much for everything. And the rest of the people, there is Professor Onyari. Professor Onyari is a conflict resolution expert and also a man, a champion of God's word. Professor Onyari, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Masanga, my fellow panelists, and our viewers from wherever they are, all over the world.
Thank you very much. Finally, let me come to Mr. Wesonga. Sean Wesonga. Sean Wesonga is an investigative journalist with Punchline Africa Television. He's based in Nairobi. A very, very dangerous guy there. You see Colombo. Those who have seen the Colombo style of suits, that is him. He's there. He's our investigative journalist. And then we have, test the microphone, brother.
Yes, very good morning, Dr. Masanga David at our political headquarters, and Miriam Mobutu at our main studios and headquarters in Nairobi, our comrades in Zimbabwe, and Professor Jared Onyari. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Motion Matemai. Thank you very much. I know I can see you, you can see me, but thank you very much for being there. Mr. Can you test the microphone? Mr. Matamai?
Good morning, fellow panelists. Good morning, Dr. Matsanga. It's good to see Miriam back. How are you, Professor Onyari, Mr. Sean Wesonga, my beloved brother Saxon Gina? I'm glad to see new panelists, Lynette and Mourinho. It's good that we meet again and dissect these issues that are always bedeviling our beloved continent. Greetings to everybody.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, It's Miriam Ogutu, the lady in the general headquarters. Miriam Ogutu, good morning, just for the second time.
Good morning to you, Doctor, and good morning to our panelists from Zimbabwe there. A warm welcome to you, and of course our Kenyan counterpart and our viewers.
I think the studio increased a bit of volume. I hope all of you are picking from Paris. We have Ghana Maina, is in Paris, and whatever it is, he is not picking up the phone. Maybe he wants to listen to the debate. Okay, thank you very much. Viewers, due to the public demand, we decided to bring this topic that touches the entire Africa. And in particular, we shall take two serious examples on the African continent. One example is Zimbabwe, and the second example is Kenya. Is the regime change that the West is up to. They come, they isolate a country. They cause an imaginary crisis. Then come up and regime change the nation. They incite the public. They tell the public to go against the authorities. They tell the public that you are poor. They tell the public that there are human rights abuses, imaginary human rights abuses, self-abductions. A few weeks ago, we have dealt with self-abductions in Zimbabwe, where people abducted themselves and then turned up to say they were abducted, which again caused quite a lot of difficulties for the nation of Zimbabwe. It is that we want to look at. Why does the West all the time create abductions, self-made? Is it we Africans who are in trouble? Are we ourselves bewitched? Why do we allow ourselves to be used by external forces to dismember our economies, to dismember our own countries, to kill our own governments, to overthrow governments, to turn governments? Yet the solutions cannot come in a day. Take the case of Zimbabwe, for example. Even if you change the government today in Zimbabwe, you won't bring a miracle unless you have several angels, Gabriel, coming down in each part of Manicaland, Shonaland West, Lupani, Bindura, Kariba, all these places, unless you have angels coming in to change everything in a day, the changes can't come. Because Zimbabwe has been under the spell of sanctions for over 20 years. They imposed these sanctions. They created a crisis. Then they came back to say, we must remove a government. The late President Mugabe desisted all this. It is the same thing happening in this country. They have gone through the judiciary, allowed the judiciary to create chaos, allowed quite a lot of difficulties. The Chief Justice, you remember, is one of the Chief Justices in Africa who nullified an election which had been won. He has never forgiven President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is at his terminal stage of leaving the office, but he still wants to do a gymnastics over the same government. It is therefore very sad that we watch, as we sit here, we see, as we are on this panel, we discuss, we make sure that everything works well for our countries. Most of us who have lived through this turmoil, most of you in Zimbabwe have seen the suffering of the people as a result of sanctions. Today, the West has removed partly the sanctions. In the European Union, removed the sanctions. But they still want to come back to give you conditions on how you should govern yourselves. Is this what Africa wants? Those are the questions that I want to put to the panel. Do they create an imaginary crisis of human rights, of hunger, of bad economy, of corruption, using these stunts to overthrow governments? How many governments in Africa have gone down? In Egypt, the uprising took Hosni Mubarak. Did we get anybody better? Did we get anybody better? We didn't. In Egypt, we didn't get anybody better. We got the worst type of person that we saw in Egypt, who came after Mubarak. Hosni Mubarak was detained, was removed by a regime change. But Hosni Mubarak himself might not have been a good person. Thank you very much, Mr. Maina, my lost friend. I can see you now. Ambassador Maina from Paris, thank you very much. You can discuss about regime change in Africa. But Africa needs a solution. Are we ourselves to blame? Are we ourselves to blame? The question of Zimbabwe, for example, an election took place a long time ago. But the opposition, headed by Chamisa, is still mourning about elections. Why do you mourn about elections when the Constitutional Court has ruled that although there were a few difficulties, which is very normal, even the election of United States was actually Bush versus Gore. It was won through court. George Bush, the son, did not win an election. We can call it, he stole an election through court. But Americans didn't come to court, to the streets, and beat up people. Americans didn't call people to overthrow their government. They accepted, and Al Gore went away and said, thank you. After voting millions and millions of votes, it narrowed it down to Supreme Court to decide between Bush and Al Gore who takes the presidency. So if in Africa, if a decision has been made by the Supreme Court, and I want to tell you before I finish, as I finish, in my country, Uganda, I am one of the few people who has restrained, who has always told Dr. Besigye that once the Supreme Court rules, once the Supreme Court of the country rules, don't disobey. I've told Besigye, I'm older than Besigye in terms of a fight. He did not start fighting in 78 like me. In 78, I was in the bush. Besigye was still a student. Yes. So he has to listen to some of us. We have been there, we have seen regimes, we have seen governments toppled. I have seen 10 military coups in my own country, in my presence. So once the Supreme Court has ruled, why do you want to come back and not to recognize Mnangagwa? For the people of Zimbabwe, Chamisa's problem is he can't recognize Mnangagwa. And that has created chaos. Instead of saying, hello, let's work together. Look at the Kenyan model. I don't want to leave it out. It's one of the best models. Uhuru Kenyatta defeated Raila Odinga. Whether there were contentious elections, it didn't matter. And it doesn't matter today. But Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga shook hands. They took a step forward that has stabilized this country. And it has annoyed George Soros. You know now George Soros is very disappointed because he sees Raila is not working the way he wants. So he's creating another person, a violent person in the middle. That's why you see the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya is able to make such draconian national interest policy of saying you dissolve a parliament in the midst of a pandemic called coronavirus. virus. Surely, in Africa, who wants to dissolve a parliament and a government in the midst of a coronavirus? It is only madmen who have God and a sin angel who were denied entry into heaven or hell that come back to make such a decision. So, panel, thank you very much. You have the topic. I will begin with Lynette from Zimbabwe. The guidelines are very simple. You put up your hand, we choose you, Miriam, and I will moderate. Miriam will give guidelines, but let's now hear from Lynette because she's going to court. Thank you very much, Lynette. Take it over.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we hear you very loud and clear. All of you, I hope.
Go ahead, Lynette.
Okay. From my understanding from what you were saying and what we are living on a day-to-day basis, I am an activist, human rights defender from the year 2006. That makes me a 14-year-old experience in activism in Zimbabwe. Within my activism, I interacted with a lot of people from the West mostly. These are the people that taught us about human rights from college and stuff like that. As I grow older as an African woman, I think I see our problem in Zimbabwe and Africa emanating from the system that we inherited after independence. We inherited the colonial system and called us our system. What we changed is the leaders, whereby Zimbabwe Robert Mugabe became the prime minister and he had a president and they had their cabinet. But the system remains, it is a very colonial system. So we have removed the white master, but kept the white master. This is, I believe, the problem that we are having today. Colonialism is continuing, and we embrace the continuation of colonialism. I think our elders were not brave enough, or most probably they were also chosen by the very same imperialists to preside over the system after independence for the continuation of colonialism in Africa. So my understanding is that as long as we are using the system that we are using, the colonial system that is being used all over Africa, we have a problem that we have accepted, we have nurtured. Just that today, it is now coming back to bite us. But unless and until we decide to use our own social, political, and economic systems, it's not like Africa did not have systems before independence. We had our systems. We had our own justice system. We had our own way of electing leaders. Until we go back to the system and undo the system and have African systems, the whole of Africa, there is going to be regime change all over, one country after the other, until the whole country is under regime change and the colonialists really can do whatever they want to do with this continent. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Lynette. She says her point is very clear. I think the panel has had her blame, and the blame goes the same systems that the colonial master used are the same ones we have carried over. And these are the ones coming back to haunt Africa. I don't know whether I would try Ambassador Maina. Ambassador Maina, the lady from Manicaland in Zimbabwe says after independence, most of the African countries, including yours, we took over a colonial system and we have continued with things as if nothing has changed. We're even introducing wheelbarrows in 21st century to use them for transportation instead of looking for technology to go to the moon. Are we the right people or whatever? Ambassador Maina, please.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. My intervention is very simple. She said we inherited in this colonial system. I believe on that. So finally, we African, if we are complaining, so mean we don't even have our own system. Number one, if we inherited to a system, mean that we are just a coward, we are just a following blueprint, right? The best thing to do in Africa, first, we need to sit down and understand that what do we want from us? What do we want with our own continent? Now, we are not lucky because the first people come to colonize us as to show us the system, how to run the government. I remember those days without those colonial, we was having the system of governance in our cultures, but this thing has been disbanded, right? Now, if we have discovered we inherited a system that necessarily is not good for us, do we have a solution? Because for me, I cannot agree always we African, we blame, we say that our problem is coming from the West. The West are here to do 1, 2, and 3 things in our country. Why? If you know that you are the neighbor who is the cause of their problem with your wife and kid, why you cannot find a new strategy? Why always blaming your neighbor? You say, if I'm having problem with my wife and my kid, it's my neighbor. And every day, for the first 60 years, you are complaining for one person. Are we smart or they are smarter than us then? Why every time we are complaining about the West, but we don't have a solution? Why we cannot set on our own standard? This democracy we are talking about, do you guys think that democracy is really good for us Africans? You are talking democracy. Do you think that democracy is the good way to run in a government? There is countries in this world here, they don't have political parties, they don't have government, but their population are not complaining. We have many examples. Do you guys know white Arab people, they refuse to agree all those Western system democracy is a wasting of time. They just waste your energy. They want to keep you busy with nonsense. Now you can see in Africa here, we have 75% of youth. They are not even busy. They spend the whole day talking about political democracy. That is not even helping them. You have been in the West, Dr. Matsanga. Have you seen any young guys from 25 to 35 talking about politics? He don't have time. He is busy thinking how he can produce something from the country. So why we Africa here, we are not doing anything? We cannot complain the West because the West will continue to govern us for the next 100 years, either we like it or not. Why I'm saying that? I'm saying that until now we depend on them. Everything is coming from the West. Everything is coming. We don't even have our own technology. Even the simple things in Africa here to interact, commercial interaction between the two countries, we are having problem. Can you imagine you can go and import milk from Holland, but you have milk here to take it to Tanzania or in Uganda is a big deal, but you can bring it from another country. We have sugar in our own areas. We need to go and bring it from Brazil. And we guys want to succeed how? We need to come down. For me, I don't have time to blame the West. I have time to blame myself. What is my own responsibility? What can I do to change things? If we come back to the track and sit down to know exactly what we want, at the end of the day, the solution will come out. Back to you, Dr. Matsanga.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor Ambassador Maina from Paris. Ambassador Maina has raised very serious points, my panel. Let me look at gender parity and then come to Professor Onyari, then come to Mr. Murinye, then let me look at Abigail Mupambi, sorry. Abigail, Ambassador has raised, we spend a lot of time. You have been in civil society. You saw some younger people in Zimbabwe faking their own abduction. We spend a lot of time on politics. In Britain, you don't find people around the 20s looking for politics. They are looking for jobs. They go and look for job to work. The politics in Britain is left for the Matsangas. The Matsangas to go to the delegates conference. Half Africa these days, even someone who has just learned how to use a laptop would like to be, I'm here, I am here, he's going to say, if you ask him about when did Zimbabwe get independence, he doesn't know. But he wants to become an MP. This is what he's saying. We have spent a lot, our younger generation is spending a lot. The 2 points he raised, we blame too much of the colonial master. And the second point is our younger generation look at politics throughout. There are no plans. There are no what to do. Africa, everybody is now becoming political. What's your view?
Abigail.
Abigail, switch on.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Matsanga. I hope you can hear me.
We hear you.
I think the long and short of it is that we need to define our African vision. Democracy, if we are in need of democracy, let's define our African democracy. Right now we are in competition, we are running up and down, trying to fulfill the American democracy in Africa, which is something that is impossible. We had our values before, we were working before, we were producing before colonization. For example, in Zimbabwe, by 1889, when the settlers arrived in Zimbabwe, we had our own systems of governance. So we are a captured generation. We are a captured generation. We are a captured nation. We are a captured society. I like my sister Lynette there. In her introduction, she actually said, I am an activist by calling. So I want to attend to the issue of a crisis in courts that is being solved at the international scenes. Now we had a situation which I want to believe is an issue where we cannot avoid blaming the West. We blame them as we also look for solutions to say, how do we outdo this system? Because as things stand right now, our own activists in this country, who should be activists by calling, who should be pushed by issues, have been conditioned to dirty tricks of blackmailing the country. So they have been conditioned by America. What has been the American interest in hiring out our activists across the borders in South Africa, Cape Town, in Zambia, Livingstone, where I've been part of? If really they've got no interest to do something in our country. So we used to have a genuine activism, which was issue-based in this country. Just fast forward about 2 years ago, but right now we now have a spate of fake abduction. We now have a chain of fake news, a thing that was never there before. It's an issue that is an import. It's an issue that came along in our journey as activists, in our journey as opposition politicians. So you begin to understand where is this issue of chaos coming from. Because we now have people who are now crisis-preneurships, people who survive by maintaining crisis in this country, by making sure that crisis remain a topic in this country. But alas, some of them, they don't even know why they are pushing the agenda, because behind the agenda, they are the owners of the agenda. And this is what we must introspect by going also deeper and begin to educate the people, speak these things out so that the people, they are alert. We have a captured generation, a generation that has been conditioned into being told that in the morning, if you want food, food is your right, just get it. That's not the issue. Our people must begin to understand that before you attain the right to food, there is the responsibility to produce. Before you attain the right to this, there is the responsibility to own such rights. So this is how our youth and our graduates, the elites, have been captured in this country. So everyone is running north, ourselves with production. And this is exactly the challenge, that we must look inwards and begin to introspect real issues in this country and across Africa. Rights are attained. You have to attend to issue of responsibility as the generation before we go around and look for rights. And this is exactly a hoax that has been a package that these Western associates are selling to our young generation. So our generation is being led astray. We have a responsibility to go out there and begin to educate the people, the real elephant in the house, what is really taking place, what is really haunting us. And of course, we cannot excuse the Americans on this one. As for me, I cannot do that because I was part of that experience. I understand very much why and how these girls have suffered even in the hands of these fake abductions. Some of these reasons are not even their own reasons. It's ignorance, yes, but we have an American hand and we cannot afford to excuse them at this point in time. Thank you, Dr. Masaka.
Thank you very much. Have we been captured? Have we been captured, Africans? Are we captured? Do we go and grow rice or we wait for rice from China? China 30 years ago was the poorest country on earth. It had only one rice scheme in Uganda called the Kimimba Rice Scheme. They used to grow some rice, we share with us, Ugandans, and they take some home. Today, China gives us even plastic rice. Some of it we don't even know whether it is real or not. In the process, we have now received even worse things, which I don't want to discuss next week. We shall discuss the origin of coronavirus. You know, there are so many things that she has raised here. Are we a society that waits for handouts? Do the West come and give us handouts and we forget our basic realities? For example, we have lawyers in Kenya who are being paid handouts to go and occupy parliament. It's not only happening in Zimbabwe where you have a threat of a crisis. Someone in Kenya has actually paid lawyers. Someone has paid the Chief Justice of Kenya, for example, to issue an advisory that dissolve parliament, therefore Uhuru Kenyatta is gone. Because once you dissolve parliament, you have dissolved the president. He won't have anything to do. So they create a crisis. My Ambassador Maina has said, no, time has come, we change our minds. My sister down there has said, we took over colonial methods and we never changed. To some extent, I agree with her that we still have laws in Africa that before you enter South Africa, you must carry the certificate of your dead father. Have you ever gone for a visa in South African embassy? They ask you for your dead father certificate, birth certificate of your dead father. Ambassador, this one you can take it up as a senior man in Africa. Honestly, South Africa asks for a visa. You fill a form and you find that they said your father's, when did your father die? Some of us grew up when we didn't even know when they died. So if South Africa, entering South Africa, where they have not changed, apart from the apartheid roads, what does this woman, madam here, Lennett is saying, they took over apartheid roads, airports. What airport have they developed new? Oliver Tambo Airport was John Smart's airport. I went there a long time ago. It was only changed the name. But have they built a new airport? Is there a new airport in Johannesburg? No. So we have to look at the Africa that we are in. Is this crisis? Have we mentally been captured, enslaved. We have been enslaved. We have been put in a cocoon of slaves. The other time we are sent by canoes and the boats across the Atlantic. Nowadays we go by ourselves freely. We go by ourselves in the Mediterranean Sea. Look at Eritrea. How many Eritreans have died in the Mediterranean Sea? Who creates that crisis? Look at everything that is happening in the Sahel region, where the ambassador comes from. Who creates that problem? These are some of the things that we want to discuss this morning. So, here we are. I want to give the ball to one of the younger men. We elders have talked. Let's hear from the younger gentleman, Lawrence Murinya. Lawrence, are you captured?
No, it's super awesome to get this platform. Thank you so much, Doctor. Welcome to every panelist who have contributed. My name is Lawrence Murinya. My contribution goes by, there are things that I've seen that we have also grown to see as the youths and the younger people. Especially one thing that I need to point out that pertains to the kind of education that we did receive. I've got the belief that the education system that we have received is one of the thing that's making us like go backwards, because the education system is, as you can see, or if you can take a look, it's more like creating a lot of slaves. It's creating more people who only can depend on other people rather than to stand on themselves. So as time progresses, some of the things that we ought to be doing as people, as Africa, we ought to be lagging behind. I've seen even in our participation in different levels of governance, in different levels of economy, we tend to be lagging behind. Why? Because we were created, most of us, to be employees than to be leaders. So as you check, the lack of ownership also comes into play because of the systems that we have been following. If you can check, the systems of education has been into existence for more than maybe 100 years. So for us to be able to be changing such things, the issue of us being responsible comes into play. So I'm believing that as the youth, as the people, or as Africa, we are failing to take ownership of the things that we ought to be changing in the system that we want to be having as a continent, and Africa as a whole. I rest my case on that one.
Lawrence Murinya from Harare in Zimbabwe says we are captured by education. Education system is blaming education as a basis. Do we produce only people looking for jobs that then create a crisis? Then the white man comes to create a crisis. Then these guys say there are no jobs. Well, how do you explain the wheelbarrow syndrome here in Kenya? Maina, you will come to that later on, Ambassador. How do you, let me bring in another youth before finally I bring in the two elders, Onyari and Magdada. You will go after one other youth. We're stronger from Kenya's perspective.
Yes,
does the West create a crisis, then come in to do what they want, and turn the younger men to call them, do go and regime change the government, because they are not giving you education, they are not giving you water, there is corruption. What is your experience from the Kenyan point of view?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Matsanga. And of course, I absolutely agree with my comrade from Zimbabwe that when we adopted the Western system of education, we never looked at the opportunities that are available here at home. We never looked at our cultures, our values, and therefore most of our universities here in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, and the rest of Africa end up producing disadvantaged graduates, people who cannot be able to find jobs locally. And we need to look at whatever is here in Africa. We need to look at our minerals. We need to look at our agriculture. We need to look at our tourism, and we need to look at our hotel industries and be able to come up with an education system which will ensure that our young people, once they graduate from college, they'll be able to use the intellectual property to fully exhaust these opportunities that are at home. But look at whatever people are doing in the university. Back in the day when I was in campus, I remember there were people who are doing some courses which the lecturer could tell you that after you finish this course, there's a very likelihood that you won't be able to find an employment here in Kenya unless you go to the Western countries and be able to find your luck there. Another thing, when you look at the political structure of Africa, as the Ambassador Maina has said, is that when after independence, when these white settlers, the colonialists, left African continent, we never bothered to revert back to our system of governance. Remember, Abigail Mupambi said we had our own values. We had our monarchical systems of governance guided by the African culture. And these systems that had ran in thousands of years, which could not just be overrun and changed overnight. And that is the same thing that China did. When China was invaded by Britain and other Western powers, the rulers of China then, the emperors, were very, very adamant to acquiring these new norms, this new system of leadership that embraces democracy in China, because they had been brought up in a society where they value the Confucian kind of culture, a culture that was closely knit to the people of the Asian, South Asian ancestry. So therefore, they found out that if they could force it on their people, it could create a leadership crisis. And we saw China trying as much as possible not to fully implement the system of the Western powers on its people. And whatever they did when they were pushed by the colonial master was to try and test some of these values. If they seamlessly blended with the Chinese people, they would adopt it. But if they refuse to seamlessly blend into their culture, they will discard it. And that is what we need to do as African people. We need to look at these constitutions. We need to look at this system of governance in terms of democracy and all that, human rights advocacy and all that, and see the sections that we can be able to adopt in order to boost our governance and bring them into our system. But those ones that do not really augur well with our people, we should do away with them. Look at the current situation in Kenya. Just the other month, the Chief Justice wrote to the President advising him to dissolve Parliament, because as a country we've been able to achieve the 2/3 gender rule. And it's not because the members of Parliament are unwilling or something of sort. It is because the way even the Kenyan voter perceives leadership does not favor such particular law in our constitution. This is a foreign law, a law that was borrowed from the American Constitution and copy-pasted into the Kenyan Constitution, and therefore it cannot. It lacks some working preconditions.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, we seem to be having a problem there with
you
the
have,
signal.
You have muted yourself off.
Yes. Yeah, we need to have a system that is African knit, a system that goes well with our culture, a system that really addresses the problem of our people, a system that enables Africans to govern themselves without being interfered with external forces. And that is what will take Africa ahead. And I also tend to sail in the same boat as Ambassador Maina, that we should it's not just enough to blame the Western powers, but we, the African people, should be able to be the captains of our own ship. Unless we allow these Western powers to interfere in our affairs, they shall never succeed in determining the fate of this continent. So that is my perspective, Dr. Matsanga, and I feel the African leaders should now prepare to charge front if you want prosperity for this continent.
Thank you very much, Sean Wesonga. You have concurred with Ambassador Maina, and you have also equally said ourselves we create a crisis and allow the West to come in. For example, we vote in wrong people who are corrupt. The Kenyan scenario is, you have seen the rampant corruption that has eaten Kenya here. Every money is gone, Ambassador Maina. Is in one person's pocket. And we are using it now to fragment the masses against an uprising, telling people that there are people who are poor and the rich. And I believe that Magaza knows very well that once you are swimming, if you are swimming in River Zambezi, you don't watch somebody being eaten by a crocodile and laugh. When you also want to cross, you have to help that person to come out and save him. Because once the crocodile eats all people, it will come for you. But here in Kenya, we have people who are saying they are hustlers, some are saying dynasty, and creating a class struggle, not knowing that the hustlers could turn on their doorstep, demanding as much as, why did you live in a good house? Why is Maina in Paris and I'm in Nairobi? These questions are going to come. Why do you live in Borodale while I am living in Chitinguza? You know, those are the same type of things being created in Kenya. To ask why you live in Borodale and I live in Chitinguza. That type of class struggle can create the Rwanda type of genocide that we saw in Rwanda, where the Hutu said, why should the Tutsi belong here? Yet they are not supposed to be human beings. And you saw almost 2 million Hutus, Tutsi people slaughtered because of a class struggle, tribal ethnicity that has actually engulfed Africa. Let me come to you, Magaza. Before now, finally come to Professor Onyari. You have got all our points. Then I come back to the studio. We want a question which Ambassador Maina should not run away. You should stay and answer this one. AU is coming. And more so, Ambassador Maina, you are more of your brother in AU has let us down. And we want you to tell us why we gave you all this responsibility. And then AU is allowing foreign agencies to come in and dictate the terms. That is the topic. Ambassador, I'm happy you are here, and the questions will come. That is when I will leave the whole moderation to Miriam and come for you, because I am ready to hear why we have an AU which is falling to pieces, why we have an AU that is collapsing. But let's hear from Magaza to tell us the difficulties of a crisis caused by the Western imaginary crisis of human rights abuses, imaginary crisis of economic hardship, that they are economic hardship. If you go to Zimbabwe, the roads are being built, schools are being built. I saw a lot of construction of dams. I've seen a lot of construction of health centers. Isn't it working in Manicaland, madam? Lynette, isn't it working in Manicaland?
Is what?
Yes, isn't it working in Rupane? The people are there now. Is Munagagwa not building some of these things, infrastructure that you want? Despite the problems that you have of sanctions, there is something going on, which I can see from the photographs that are being sent. And you people on the ground, tell the world what it is. Yes, fantastic. Magazi.
Thank you very much, Doctor. This is a very interesting topic indeed. And then we have to see to it that here, as far as I can see, when we consider this topic, we find out that we have an artificial crisis. It's artificial, the crisis per se in Zimbabwe, which is caused by rogue non-governmental organizations and also rogue civil service organizations, as well as hostile intelligence services who are paid to cause the so-called crisis. These so-called intelligence services, they are targeting the young ones because they know the young ones are easily influenced. Let's take, for example, you find out it at institutions, universities, and colleges. They are the first to strike because they are easily influenced. Our education system before, yes, during the colonial era, had taught us to like white-collar jobs and to be employed, not to be employers, not to be able to fend for ourselves. But we now find out that we have got a paradigm shift. We have shifted from that as far as I can see here in Zimbabwe. There is now a change. There is what we call STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Meaning to say that in colleges and universities, they are emphasizing that students have to take up those subjects so that they will be able, or they will be innovative and be able to uplift the lives of Zimbabwe, and also making use of our own local resources, and so that it will manufacture our own products. We find out that universities as well here in Zimbabwe, they have erected what President Mnangagwa has called innovation hubs, meaning to say that they have been erected or they've been built so that the young intellectuals have got to come up, invent, come up with something, products, machinery, you name it, which can be used to make products which we need to have in Zimbabwe. We also find out that we have got a large array of skills in our young ones. We have got young engineers, we have got IT professionals, we have got food scientists. If these young ones have to embark on innovative projects, while they are making use of our own local resources and making products for the local market, and then any extra and any excess is the one which we will export. That is the first stage whereby we find out we won't need to buy from the West because we'll be making those. Those young minds should be simply empowered or motivated to do that. Unfortunately, as Dr. Matsanga has said, that you find out that in the developed world, the young ones are busy trying to find out to earn a living for themselves rather than involving themselves in politics. The moment they get involved in politics, meaning to say they leave what they have been taught at school and enjoy the toying on the streets, and then they think that this is the way to bring the change. Change doesn't come for them to get anything on a silver platter. They have got to wait for it. They have got to use the skills which they learned at school. They have got to be innovative. They have got to be ingenious, not in being ingenious or throwing stones and destroying properties which have been there. And so, which means the West are taking advantage of probably the novice youths, so that at least they will, they know that they can skew their minds. And then once they cause disturbances, they will be able to fulfill their wishes of regime change as such. So by so doing, Zimbabwe is progressing, and it is in the right trajectory as regards to the use of youth and empowering the youth so that they become independent and produce for Zimbabwe. And then this is taking place, and a lot is taking place, and we are still continuing, and then the government is continuing with such programs. There are lots of programs which have come up which are benefiting the youth. We can even go to as far as mining. Mining was a preserve of the whites before, but now we find out the majority of the miners are the black youths, meaning to say we have taken those youths from the streets to become productive. What do they produce? It benefits the nation. And then the adults are there now to advise the youths so that they desist from acts which are anti-government, so that they become pro-government and help the government to develop. We should change the mindset of our youth. We should decolonize the minds of the youth, whereby they think that anything which is Western is good, anything which is African is bad, which is a wrong notion which they've always taken, that they always look down upon their own, admiring what comes out from outside. It's now time for that change, so that we make sure that we accept what is African, work together as Africans, produce for Africa, buy from each other as Africans, and then we know that an independent Africa can never be a pushover of the West. I rest my case, Doctor.
Oh, thank you very much. An independent Africa cannot be a pushover for the West. You can't come and beat us when we are manufacturing, when we have youth who are vibrant, like Lawrence. He's doing something to uplift the standards of the youth, like Wesonga. They are doing things to uplift the standards of the youth. But today, the youth of today, the hamburger-eating youth, you know, those who hammer hamburgers in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and then in Washington and London, all their work is to insult people. Look at how many Zimbabweans, if you bring a program of this nature, Zimbabweans and the Kenyans, you put up a program to discuss. They can't discuss. Theirs is this out. And I'm sure that Amai Abigail and Amai Leonard, you have received those insults because you don't listen to what MDC youth, younger men do. They will insult you. They will tell you all heaps of lies, of insults, fake. They tell you so many names. That's the youth of today we have. And you have summarized it until Africa does its own way of living and initiates projects so that we are not pushover. Imaginary crisis will always emerge on the continent. Professor Onyari, in summary, we have Saxon. That our yes.
guest, Saxon, take it. You have some time now. Take it on. We are not hearing you. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, a bit low. Maybe you could.
Okay. The problem that we have in Africa is that of identity. We don't love ourselves. That we can manage of our inferiority complex. We believe that everything Western is superior, and the intelligence organizations like CIA and M15.
We can't hear you, but
okay, you can't hear me.
Yes,
please.
Because you are using the equipment. You are using the equipment and at the same time talking to us on the same equipment. Switch one off.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. The challenge that we have, can you hear me? How about now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The challenge that Africa has, we are too dependent on Western lifestyles. We discarded our African values and norms to the extent that we praise and look to Africans, to Western lifestyles as being superior. By taking ourselves being inferior, with intelligence organizations like CIA and M15, we've started funding our people to cause stabilization, to pay the self-food. And I think if you have noticed, if there's an event that happens in Africa, those media houses are fed the lies by our own people because they believe they seem to be reporting to the nations that they feel are superior to a superior class, which is totally wrong. Every nation has got its own challenges. How many nations have been invited to observe or monitor the U.S. elections scheduled for the 3rd of November? But when Africa doesn't upcoming elections, the West tries to impose themselves to be the referees, which is totally wrong. We have got our own way of doing things, and the moment we accept them, they try to bring in their own machinations, their own systems, which are meant to stabilize Africa. Africa, in terms of area, is bigger than China, America, and Europe combined, and with all the resources. But we can't tap into them. The West try to stabilize us, to take advantage of those resources. The reason why these guys create crisis is to take our resources for their own benefit.
Thank you very much, Saxon. We cannot hear you properly, but I have picked your point. Your point that you hammered first was identity crisis. I think I picked that point very clear. Your identity crisis. We have an identity crisis. We don't know what we want. We don't know what we want to eat. We don't know where we belong. We don't know what to do with ourselves. That is the point I picked from you. We know the communication has been a problem, but we shall sort it out one day. Inshallah, God is going to bring us to that level so that you can communicate very, very efficiently. First, now I bring it down to Professor Onyari. Summarize for us. You have heard from Ambassador Maina, Lawrence, Abigail, Magaza, Saxon, and Lynette. I know Mr. Matamei will come in to do a summary when time is up. So summarize, bring us to date. Then we switch on. We have another 45 minutes. We switch on to the most exciting topic, Miriam, the AU. And since we have Ambassador Maina here, we are everything, I will leave every handling in your hands, and I want to become a panelist today. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Masanga, and my fellow panelists and our viewers. This is a great topic for the people of Africa. Dr. Masanga, let me just start from myself that I love the continent of Africa. I love the people of Africa. I have passion for Africa, and I've got no apologies to make because Africa is my continent. Africa is my home. And I will exceed the world from being an African. Dr. Masanga, let me just ask a question, a small analogy. We come from African homes. You see your mom struggling to feed you, to clothe you, to educate you. And you see the villagers around, people around the village, they mock her, they look down upon her, and then you grow and you become very successful. Dr. Masanga, do you also join them in mocking your mom? Do you join them in looking down upon your mom?
No.
This is exactly, and this is what I want to demystify Lawrence and the scene zone about Dana. They talk about the type of education. There is no problem with the type of education, Lawrence and Dana, that we have been given. Lawrence, Dr. Masanga, Ambassador Maina can testify. The same education, when we go to the West, we excel. The same education we are castigating. Why am I making this? You know, and it is high time that I want to associate myself with Ambassador Maina. We stop about agonizing and blaming the West. Time has come for us to start organizing, to change the mindset. You know all the things which have been done to the continent of Africa. When there was industrialization, in the Industrial Revolution in Europe, they came to Africa to look for raw materials. They came for cheap labor. If you are in business, if you want to make profit, you must get cheap labor. And you must understand that the independence of Africa in African countries was given reluctantly. You see the kind of infrastructure, the kind of the railway system or the industry that these people build, they had no imagination that they will leave Africa. But we thank God that God was on our side. We were granted our independence. What do we do it? We did. Dr. Masanga, when you want to get honey from the bees, what do? You go and smoke them, and you take the honey. So the West, what they are trying to do. Remember the question we are saying we are trying to address. How the West is using imaginary crisis to cause regime change of African government to get what they want. Dr. Masanga, they want raw materials. They want the precious minerals of the continent of Africa. And remember this, Dr. Masanga and my fellow panelists. Africa is the only continent with intact resources. We have got the soil and the good climate which we can feed the entire world. Gas, oil. This is what these people they want. So what do they want? They will come in terms.
They come and smoke you first.
Let me just use Kenya.
I allow the panel to laugh a bit about this bee. If you want the honey, you go and smoke the bees. Then they run away.
Thank you so much. Let me use Kenya as a case study. Did the West people fight the late President Daniel Moi in the names of human rights, in terms of democracy, in terms of multiple democracy? Yes, they did. Did they fight the retired President Mwai Kibaki? Yes, they did. Are they fighting President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta? They are doing it. Did the West fight the late Comrade Bob Mugabe? Yes. Are they fighting President Emerson? Yes. So, Dr. Masanga, it is high time that the African people, we come together and address the problem facing the continent. And as we proceed to the next topic, remember the African leaders, Dr. Masanga. And we keep on blaming the young people. And it is high time that we stop. Who are the mentors of these young people? What are they running from us? When we root the money, when we steal the money from the continent of Africa, which is supposed to help the people of Africa, where do we invest them? So, Dr. Masanga, let me just wind up by saying, by what Ambassador Maina said, and some of the panelists have said, Dr. Masanga, we need to change the mindset of the African people. We have to change our perception. We have to change our thinking. If we tell ourselves that we cannot make it, we have charged and condemned ourselves. Africa will still rise again. When you see you coming with Punchline Africa and assembling the Pan-African, this is the process. The fact that Dr. Masanga, we are having this conversation, I'm seeing Africa rising. Once we have done that, they have taken our raw materials, they used us as cheap labor, they are still, yes, that is when we do that one, we are organizing. Let us start organizing the continent of Africa by telling our young people it can be done, we can work hard, we can make it. And eventually, Dr. Masanga, this is what Ambassador Maina said, we have to change our tactics and find strategies of moving forward. I submit.
Oh, thank you very much, viewers. It looks like we chase the honey. If we want the honey, we must chase the bees. This is something I've learned this morning. And Ambassador Maina, thank you, Lawrence, thank you, Abigail, thank you, Sean Wesonga, Samson. Mindset, identity crisis. We are caught between the white and the black. And I want to bring in Matamei motion. We are caught between the white and the black. Some people even put white hair. Oh my God. Oh, look at that. We create a crisis by women. By, some of the ladies, even the men. You find them in Harare, in Nairobi. They have gone to spread their hair to look like a bazungu. If you are my son, I won't even say you are mine. I will just walk and jump in a taxi and run away from you. Yeah, honestly, we have a crisis these days. You find people wearing trousers were meant to be worn in the West. They wear the trousers in the knees. And these are the new generation we are leaving behind. We create a crisis. I agree with you, Professor Nyali. We create a crisis. These guys are busy wearing trousers like them. Then they say, why are you here? Some people have even taken on a new method of plaiting their hair. So if a thief comes to kill you at night, he doesn't know whether he has killed a wife or a husband. You are all of you with plaited hair in the same bed. Is Africa, did we have this type of things? What happened? Is it education that brought us to here? Now let's talk of education. The same education that you do here is the one you go to Oxford University to study. What has changed? Why does it make you to change color your hair? In fact, you look for a particular color, not Chinese, but the other one. Nobody has ever tried to color Chinese hair. Have you seen anybody in Africa trying to imitate Chinese style? Nobody. They imitated this style from up here. In the West, you want to walk like a Trump. You want to talk like a Trump. Even on TV, our own TV stations. Now you have been to my studio, Your Excellency Ambassador. You have seen I don't use prompter. That medium does not use prompter. If I ever find her using prompter, that's the end of it. We use the brain, we talk. We have the material, we come to talk to you. Because prompter is the way the West told us, read. You find the Congolese in Paris, his salary is 2,000 euros, but he wastes the money buying suits for 1,800 euros. Yes, the shoe of a Congolese DRC brand of mine from Africa is 2,000 euros. The whole month's salary is gone. And then he makes sure that he wears this suit to go walk down the streets of Paris, to be seen. And the people look at him, they say, what? But when you look at the problems that he has the whole month, because he has spent the money on suits. Brother, I've lived with them, I know. I had to rescue very many of them in Croydon, in London. And I give them advice, help them create a center. The only people that I have created to make a good people in London are Somalis. Some of them have become MPs. I have 97 MPs in Somali Parliament who passed through my pen. I filled their forms because they couldn't speak English. Now they speak very good English. That is an achievement for me, and for them, and for Africa. They have come back, they are MPs. And when you talk about Batanga in Somalia and Mogadishu, they can even throw you out of parliament because they know me. Look at that. But most of this Africa, when we go to these places, we change identity create a crisis, imaginary. We don't even want to know that I am from Canada, I am from Chad, I'm from Uganda, I'm from, no, you say no. Which Uganda, I came back a long time ago, I don't know it. Yes, I don't know it. There's one thing I've never said. Despite the suffering that I've gone through Magaza, I have never said I'm not a Ugandan. I'm willing to be called as a Ugandan. Neither have I tried to imagine to speak English like the English people speak, changing the mouth to burn my tongue. No, I speak exactly like a Ugandan. And that is very good for me. Matema emotion. Can we now have your statement on the situation, imaginary crisis created in Africa for regime change? Mr. Motion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga and fellow panelists. I'm really attracted to the topic, imaginary crisis, which denotes that we don't have a crisis, and I agree to the fact that we don't have a crisis. Why do we have imaginary crisis? We have imaginary crisis because we have a Europe that is in crisis of resources. So they want to export their crisis to Africans, but the crisis in reality is in Europe. The whole run around by Western powers in Africa is because they are in crisis of resources. We don't have crisis of resources. Professor Onyari said we are the only continent with intact resources. They have a crisis of resources, but they want to export that crisis to us so that it appears as if we have got crisis of resources. No, we don't have. I would want to agree with Mourinho's input that all we want is a change of the mindset and exploit our own resources for our own good in an independent Africa. Now, why do we have a Western community trying to create an imaginary crisis in Africa? The reason is very simple, and I would draw your attention to the case of Zimbabwe. The reason why Zimbabwe is on the map of Europe at the moment is simply because 20 years ago, Robert Mugabe decided to distribute land and empower his own Zimbabweans. Now, what is the danger of that empowerment? The danger of that empowerment, like what Lawrence previously said, is that once you focus on your land, farming on your own, doing your own production, you no longer want to go and work in a white man's factory. Now, the danger of it is that if an African owns the means of production, that very African is no longer interested to travel to Europe and work there for the Europeans. It is common knowledge that Europe, developed as it is, most of what they have has been the sweat and blood of Africans, as history does justice to explain from the slave trade to date. Slave trade, colonization, neo-colonialism, and what have you, it was all about using the African sons and daughters to develop their own continents. And the moment Africans started to own the means of production, then that means the Europeans have no more cheap labor. Now, the only way out is to capitalize on the mean, those who can't reason properly, give them a few dollars, tell them to go into the streets, make fake abductions, make fake demonstrations, come with fake accusations of non-existent crisis, and then there is commotion in Africa, and once there is commotion in Africa, it gives leeway to the Western powers to intervene into the day-to-day administration of African states. I would draw your attention to the case of Libya, just trying to move away from Zimbabwe a little bit, because Libya is already a done deal for the Westerns. If you look at the circumstances surrounding Libya, you would notice that the Libyans were given an imaginary crisis where they were told that Gaddafi is the problem in Libya. Today, if you go to Libya and talk to any Libyan, they will tell you that they miss their Gaddafi. Indeed, they miss him. But all along, they thought Gaddafi is a problem. But Africa knew, if we talk of the Pan-Africanists who wanted to push for a United States of Africa, you cannot exclude the name of Gaddafi. And this is what the Westerns don't want. You cannot exclude the name of Kwame Nkrumah. You cannot exclude the name of Robert Mugabe. You cannot exclude the name of a host other Pan-African geniuses who are late and some are still living. But the challenge that we have is, once one tries to pursue that direction of ensuring that Africa owns its own resources, the West are quick to jump, use fellow Africans to ensure that there is a crisis in Africa, and then they loot. I will quote Sarkozy in the Libyan crisis. After the demise of, immediately after the demise of Muammar Gaddafi, what did Sarkozy say? He said, we now want our share. What was the share that Sarkozy wanted? It is the share of the resources that are found in Libya. Nothing less, nothing much. They wanted the resources, they wanted the share. Who were sharing? It was the French, the Americans, and their fellows, not Africans in this case. So, the case of Africa being bombarded through existence of some imaginary crisis is all because we have got a continent in the West that is in a crisis of resources. And if we are not very careful, we will be used to restore resources in West and ensure that our resources are looted time and again because of the lack of unity that is necessary. Let me a little bit zero down to the issue of the laws that we have. We have the power to repeal certain laws. Yes. I remember in 2010 or 11, thereabout, Nelson Chamisa caused the commotion in the labor fraternity in Zimbabwe after he represented a certain company, and the outcome of the judgment forced the companies to retrench rapidly, and a lot of people became jobless because of that court outcome. But what did Robert Mugabe do? Robert Mugabe simply said, no, let's repeal that law. When I looked at that law, that was a 1985 law that was being used to punish Africans in 2013. So we need to look again at our old laws and ensure that we restore ourselves and ensure that we have got a legal system that is pan-African. If we cannot do that, it means we are going to be used to operate in the manner that the colonialists want, basing on a certain legal instrument that they created for us during the pre-colonial era. As such, we need to educate our people. I was hurt because I belong to the same generation that is said to be captured, the youth, and I cannot deny that there is rampant capture and the fear of owning anything. If you look at our generation, we are very much afraid of any initiation. We cannot start something for our own. If you so decide to start something of your own, you feel like maybe I'm going to fail. But if you are to do something, getting employed, then you feel like you've achieved. My thinking is that we need a reconditioning of youth's minds, which ensures that we approach our future and our present situation in independence without the sense of belonging to anyone, without the sense of seeking assistance from anyone. I submit.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Motion.
My motion. Finally, we come to Miriam as we come to our final stage. Is there a stage managed crisis, an imaginary crisis? Miriam, just pick out points only. And then you lead us to the other question. What has happened to the African Union? African Union was supposed to teach us so many things. African Union was to guide us. What has happened to AU? Is it still alive? Is it doing the same things the colonialists are doing? And since we have Ambassador Maina, a brother to the ambassador in AU, they come from the same country. We give you the facilities to run Africa. And you have let us down. Miriam, bring up your points from the studio. Back to you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much there. I think I do have a question for Ambassador Maina because of a couple of issues that he brought up while he was talking there earlier, and the fact that perhaps we must...
let's speak a bit louder, maybe.
By understanding who we are first, and also we should try to find a solution for us and perhaps stop with the lamenting all the time. But what I need to understand is from Ambassador, from your own perspective, because we know we blame a lot of what happens in this continent to the West, owing to our history and all that. But do you feel sometimes we like blaming the West to absolve us from the responsibility of building the Africa we want today?
I can say yes. First of all, do you know your own problem, you as African? That's the first thing we need to know. If you don't know your problem, how are you going to blame someone, or how are you going to find a solution? When we are talking about African problem, we have a tendency to see that we are not succeeding because we have a block road, like someone is blocking us somewhere. Is that what you believe? Me, I don't believe that, because we don't have our own plan. They say in our life, if you don't have an agenda, you have to fit in someone else's agenda. If I ask you as African, what is our agenda with this world? What do we want to be? Which position we want to take in this continent, in this world? We don't have one. When Chinese decide that we want to be number one in this world, they become, because they didn't make any noise. Chinese has never blamed any continent. They have never blamed any Western. They said, let us go and work very hard. When we work very hard, we build a system that no one will beat us. You guys need to understand, in this world, there is a system set up that no one can change it, except you have to play the game to beat the system, but you cannot change it. Either you like it or not. The reality, we are living in the world that this is a lion, this is a gazelle. The lion will not survive if he cannot run faster than the gazelle and eat this gazelle. You have to know that. America, France, UK, all of them cannot survive without Africa. So they will die for Africa. This is 100%. Put it on your mind and stay with it for the rest of your life. Now you, Africa, who is considered as a gazelle, you have to run faster, or you need to build a system that the lion cannot come to eat you. So it's up to you. I'm not giving you any advice. We are the gazelle, either we like it or not. They will eat us if we are not ready, if we don't plan ourselves. And running faster, we find out is not the solution, because at the end of the day, the lion have to run faster than you. Either it's starve to death. So what do you want them to do? Let's take the perspective of African on the side. We have to see the truth. We have to face the truth. For me, I'm the kind of person that I've grown up in the system that blaming is out of the question. I need to find out what is my role, what is my own problem, what is my contribution in this issue. The day I find out my contribution, I know which way I have to take. So get back to you, my dear.
All right, thank you so much. So, Doctor, there are very interesting perspective there that Ambassador has brought up. How can we avoid being on the dinner plate of these Western powers as it is? There is a scramble again for Africa, as we all know right now. And also he mentioned there, what is our agenda? Because if you don't have an agenda as a continent, then other people will come in and run their agenda through us. So that brings us now to the other part of our conversation about AU, which is supposed to be spearheading our agenda as a continent, but it has not done quite well in that regard. I don't know how we are going to rate AU today in regards to advancing the continent's agenda to the rest of the world and representing us. Have they done a good job? Perhaps we start with you, Doctor, and then maybe you can introduce you can have the rest of the panelists come and answer the same question.
First of all, thank you very much. I think Ambassador Maina and the Professor plus the panel, you have opened up something which I've been looking for. You know, Professor said, if you want the honey, you chase the bees. Now Maina says, are you a gazelle or what did you say again? A gazelle or a lion? Or a lion?
Yes.
Which one runs faster? Who eats the other? If you are slow, you will be eaten. If you stay, you tackle the bees wrongly, they come for you. We are caught up in that scenario now. Why have we allowed ourselves to be eaten? That is the question.
Amen.
That is the question. And that's what we have. We call these guys ourselves. We cry. Oh, we have become a book of lamentation. Anybody who has read the Bible, lamentation. Oh, I have a problem. Oh, lamentation. Lamenting throughout. No solution like what Mr. Lawrence Muride has brought a solution. He's doing something in Zimbabwe to uplift the youth. We are all the time lamenting. We go under cold sanctions. The people of Zimbabwe, Lupane, all of you in Zimbabwe, do you blame Africa for your sanctions? You blame Zimbabweans themselves. Mr. Welshman Kube and Mr. Jagarai and Jendai Biti, they went to Europe to ask for these sanctions. Lawrence, am I wrong? Lupane,
I'm following.
am I wrong? Magaza, am I wrong?
You are correct, Doctor.
You went and asked for these sanctions. You say, come. Come and eat us. Come. Gazelle calling lion, come. And my meat is ready. Come.
Not. Yeah, I am ready.
Miriam, what are you saying?
It's saying I'm ready to be eaten. I'm ready to be dinner.
I'm ready for dinner on the plate.
Yes.
Zimbabweans themselves. And today we still have these guys still masquerading, walking around Chamisa, walking around in his trousers, telling us that he's worth a man to be in Zimbabwe. We still have people here in Kenya, the chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, walking around in trousers, telling us he is a man. He's still walking around, calling people to occupy parliament. But when he reaches parliament, he eats mandazi. I don't know what you call mandazi. Baked powder mixed with sugar and baked, put in oil. He ate this and started laughing so well, and they came out after calling people to come and occupy parliament. Are these the people we want in this community? The answer is no, Miriam. We have to change direction, perspective. We have to have identity. We must identify who is who. We must remove those who are traitors, mafikizoros. We have a lot of mafikizoros We have a Mafikizoro like a Marema who pretends to be speaking for masses in South Africa, but yet Marema is an imperialist working with the whites at night, picking money at night, and trying to support, to say he's an African during the time. We have Marema, for example, telling people that we must go and change Zimbabwe. But who is Marema? He owns 3/4 of Kasukwere's tracks. We create a crisis ourselves. Kasukwere has given him the tracks to manage. There is money flowing from the same Zimbabwe. And then we call it a crisis management, a crisis in Zimbabwe. Who is calling a crisis in Zimbabwe? Jonathan Moyo, a G40 group of Kasukwere, Muzembe, and the other one with dreaded hair. What is his name? I don't even know. You know, look at those.
Patrick,
who is, no. Who is causing those problems for Zimbabwe? It is them. Imaginary crisis. You know, Mr. Kasukwere has trucks working, still delivering fuel to Zimbabwe. Is that true? Then he calls Zimbabwe a crisis country. When he is earning a living from Zimbabwe, his trucks are selling fuel. His petrol stations are still selling fuel and taking the money to South Africa to pay his rent. You call a country with a crisis where you are getting your rent? Where are you people in Zimbabwe? Don't you see this thing? Who calls it? I agree with this man, Maina. The gazelle called the line, come, I'm ready for dinner. Come, I'm ready for dinner. Come and eat me. In fact, it advertises itself. Our food is the best. My meat is the best. Come and eat me. Your Ambassador Maina has hit the nail for me. And thank you very much, Professor Ambassador and Abigail. You have taken something from this show. The crisis is manufactured from ourselves. Imaginary. Those two women who went and abducted themselves, not knowing that there was CCTV in Harare State, checking them buying chicken in Chicken Inn. I have everything here. Then they sent the clip to Kate Hoy, MP Kate Hoy, that woman of Vaxo, a constituency which I cannot live in London. I can't live in Vaxo. What? This is one of those trodden areas. Not me. Look at me. I can't live there. I live in Surrey, Minor. I don't live in those type of places of SWC, which is what is a place for drug addicts. You know, that MP should not threaten you. When she comes to, when she's about to talk about Zimbabwe, the whole world of MDC say, oh, I'm fine. Let's come to the real Maina. Ambassador, I know you want to go away, but you'll not go away without talking about the African Union.
I'm waiting about the AU, Don.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because one of the things that has pained every African on this panel, including Miriam, even if she's not telling you, is your brother, Muhammad Faki. Dr. Muhammad Faki. Today I would address him nicely. Otherwise, if it was not you, tell him that when that giant from Uganda finds you, it will be a showdown. You have spoiled. Honestly, tell him Muhammad Faki because he's your brother. Tell him, Frankie, I swear that No.
Do me a favor. Record the video and I will send to him.
Can I deliver
record
my
the video? I will send it to him. Do me a favor. Please record the video.
I am doing it.
Thank you.
Tell him you are fraudulent. destroyed the AU. In fact, clip, I shall send you that clip. You are very fraudulent. You are a bad brother. You have destroyed the AU. And Matsanga is lobbying all African heads of state not to attend your conference. And I will succeed. Try me. I have defeated Ocampo. I will defeat this guy. Your brother who looks exactly like you. I'm going to do it. I have no mercy. And tell him that Matsanga said he will never come to AU as long as you are there. As soon as you leave, I will be the one occupying it. And tell him you are lucky that it is not in Nairobi. I would have occupied it. Because Nkrumah keeps on calling me from his grave. What has happened to African Union? How can he steal all the documents of competitors and remain unopposed? Alone, is he the only one who went to study a degree? He doesn't allow any competition. Surely, is this the way you do things in Chad? You are my brother from Chad. I like you so much. I sat down with you, but where did you get this brother of yours? Where did you get him from? He is captured. He has been captured. He has allowed rot, big rot in AU. He condemns Zimbabwe. Did you know that? He condemns Zimbabwe. He has condemned Zimbabwe. Instead of condemning the terrorists in Cape Delgado. Why is he not condemning the terrorists in Cape Delgado? He has failed to bring peace in Cameroon. Can he tell me that he doesn't know where Amazonia is? In fact, you come near Amazonian border. I know where your home is. People might think Maina is a Kenyan. This man is from one of those good, you know, Maina, all of us, the Mainas came from there. So, what has made this AU chairperson not functional? He has all the resources, he has everything at his hand. Tell him, Africans are laughing at you. Africans are very worried. Africans are doing a petition. You are the first Secretary General to have a petition against you. There you are, Maina. If you have any words, try them. But it's very hard.
Dr. Matsanga, I want to thank you so much. I know you are a Pan-Africanist. And I want to thank also Miriam and everyone who has expecting response from me regarding AU. I don't know if you guys understand really the system of this world. Let me take a little basis. Let me go to the basis. I give you a simple example, Dr. Matsanga. In Africa here, if you are not working and your wife is working, you have the kids and she make money, she's the one setting the rule at home. Either you like it or not. I'm talking about your wife. I'm talking simple because we have to discuss simple system as African. She set the rule. She will determine what time you are going out. She was determining what time you are going to eat. She was determining what time you are going to sleep. She was determining what time you have clothes. And she will determine what kind of friends you will have, Dr. Matsanga. Either you like it or not. When your wife is working, she's the one feed the bill. She is the one setting the rules at home. Dr. Matsanga is very good when we spend all our time to blaming Musa Faki, blaming AU. Do we know even how AU is funded? AU is taken by France, UK, USA, and China. Am I right or wrong? 54 African countries cannot contribute 20% of the expenses of the AU. The is coming from these people you hate, you don't like. Dr. Masanga, how come you living in Kenya? I'm living in Paris. I'm the one paying your apartment. I'm the one paying your, putting your fuel. I'm the one paying your workers. And you are telling that I'm not a good person. I'm always looking on your African punchline. You have to do what I want, Dr. Masanga, either you like it or not.
Yes.
Let me tell you, an example, even Ambassador Amina, if she becomes the chairperson of African Union, or Mr. Bachili, the system will remain the same. When we have a jumbo jet, we call Airbus A380, any pilot we put on this jumbo jet, he have to follow the rule how to pilot the plane. You cannot bring your system to run it because everything has been set. They will give you instruction from the airport. They will give you the line. They will give you an altitude, how to fly, and they will tell you the number of people have you carry inside this plane, Dr. Mazanga. Musa Faki is just a pilot. And now, in order for you to take your responsibility, go build your own train, go build your own fly, build your own aircraft, and tell them, I don't want to follow your rules. Dr. Matsanga, in 2017, Rwandan President Paul Kagame said, in order for us to have a say in AU, we need to make sure African countries contribute. At least we can maintain this AU. How come, Dr. Masanga, you are talking and is a Chinese build your own headquarters in Addis, and you are telling that the Western is interfering in our system? You can't even build the house you want to do the meeting. A simple building is somebody else will pay for it. What independence are you talking about? What independence are we talking about if they build the building for us, they are giving us the cars, they are giving us everything, the material to run this IAU. In 2020, African countries has not contributed 15% of the expenses of African Union, 15. The remaining 85% is coming from France, UK, USA, and China. Who put the bill, set the rules? Even your wife, if she pay the bills in your house, she said there's optional communities. We are good to blame Musa Faki. I will let you know that Musa Faki is one of the best chairpersons we ever have in African Union, compared to others. That is true. Take it or leave it. It's your opinion. I am not against that. Yes, it's your opinion. Some people say Jesus is not a good moment. I'm not here to argue. I'm telling you my view. My view. Even you, Dr. Matsanga, whoever, Mariam, if you become chairperson of African Union, I don't think you can do better than that because you don't understand the system. You don't have nothing. You don't have nothing to run your country. I am the one funding you, and you are the one telling me what to do. That is the reality. There is one thing. We Africans, we spend our time on defense. Always we defend. We are in defenses. And white people, they are on offensive. Always they attack us. They plan for 50 years how we can run these people. We are not even have a plan of 1 year in Africa. Since African Union, there is no 1 year that African country has an amount of money to run OU. So how do you want us to succeed then? Tell me, Dr. Matsanga. We are very good, to blame. Blaming is very nice. It's good to blame. Everybody is happy, We call it that you want to satisfy your emotion for 1 second, but the reality is there. In 2017, they asked African countries to pay 0.5% of their import levy to fund the African unions. Do you know that in 2017, they just contribute 25% of the amount, who is to 320 million. And we need 1.something billion to run African Union. But we have 320. Where is the remaining money will come from? We have to go and beg these people to kneel down, to listen to them, to abide with their rule, with their system. Dr. Matsanga. Let us agree. Let us not blame just someone we say he's a coward, he's the worst. Or it's not. For me, even you take a chimpanzee, you put in African Union. If we don't put the money, we will be the same thing. Forget about human beings, Dr. Matsanga. That is the truth. For me, I'm the kind of person, I see the truth. I tell you, what is our own problem? We can't even contribute. Why we don't have a say in UN? Do you know why African countries don't have a say? The 54 African countries cannot contribute. Only one, France, is contributing. And you want to have it. You say, we need a seat. We need to be a permanent seat. How are you going to be a permanent seat? 54 countries, very rich, cannot contribute for France. My dear, let us be, you have to be responsible from your house in order to go and blame somebody else outside. This is the truth. Let us see the perspective. For me, Musa Faki is not a problem. Musa Faki will never be a problem.
Yes.
Even when they put Dr. Matsanga or Ambassador Amina, who they put Bachili, you will hate this Bachili. Maybe you will go to Ambassador Amina to fight her to say you have not done well. We trust you. I know you will come to that. How many times we vote new president in our countries and after 2 years we start blaming them? How many times we did that? How many African countries? Because the simple things has not been done. We need to first know our responsibilities first.
Okay.
In order to bring responsibility. If your own has not been met, how are you going to ask some people to respect you? Simple.
All right.
Anytime when we sit down, we blame AU. We are not. Okay, go ahead. Another question. I'm listening.
No, there's no question. I just want to agree that today you have said something that I can agree with. We are very bad people in contribution. We break agreements every day. There are so many African countries that are in areas. They have never paid the money. So that one I can agree. But on the rest of the other things of condemnation, no. I'm still with Faki. There is something that he should have done better. He would have changed. He should have changed the course. We should change the entire AU chapter. He should bring reforms.
We're going to do that.
No, we propose. We should propose. For example, you cannot fail to support Sahawari to become a full-fledged member. For example, we cannot agree as Africans that we don't want ICC. Then 2 countries go and say, we love ICC. Then we allow them to come and sit. 3, we cannot agree that Kenya will become a United Nations Security Council member for these 2 years. Then we allow another country called Djibouti to come and be a contestant. These are the things that we need to streamline, which make Muhammad Faki to be called names. Because why do you allow those type of things? He should propose. Lastly, he went and sacked this Zimbabwean woman.
Doctor.
A woman who was standing up to say Africa, time has come to get money and bank it in Africa itself, so that you can have a self earning AU. The man is summarily just by text sacked the Zimbabwean woman. What type of administrator? He is your brother. Tell him that sacking was not very good.
But Dr.
And we are not going to take it lightly. Unless he convinces us. Now he has done another fraud. He has brought a Zimbabwean woman again to appease Zimbabwe and appointed another one to the same place. So what type of administration is this? I am not happy with Dr. Musa Muhammad Faki because of his type of administration. I know the problems lie in AU, but his type of administration, and you are rightly saying, even if it was Amina, even if it was Matanga, even if it was a chimpanzee.
What if he's just taking orders? Because we know Dr. Arikana.
Analogy, very good analogy of a gazelle and a lion.
Yes.
It is the same problem. But how can we change from here? The Pan-African movement is 75 years old. Where do we go from here?
Yes.
The panel.
Doctor, very, very interesting, issues you brought up there, and also Ambassador there. We know, and I think we talked about the sacking of Ambassador Arikana, the one from Zimbabwe, and we know she was very critical, especially of France and the US. And as what our guest, the miner, has said, these are the key funders of African Union, France, US, China. So perhaps Musa Faki was just following some instructions from somewhere. I don't know. Possibility.
Yeah. I think now we needed to ask the brother that we have got it from the brother's mouth.
Maybe.
I'm giving you a simple fact, Dr. Matanga. I say let us start by the basic. The basic is that if your wife is the responsible fitting the bills, she set the rules. She will tell you what time you are going out.
Okay.
Who is going to be your friends? I've summarized it. Professor, you are listening to me.
Yes.
So you
I agree.
Summarize it. If she will tell you who's going to be your friends.
For me, with my wife, I want to tell you frankly, we have agreed on rules, not her to rule me. But we agree on the rules.
As long as if you are ready to fit your, if you are responsible to fit your bills, she will listen to you.
Then you can.
If you are not working, you are useless. You are as poor as the church mouse watching the food down the bishop.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
But my wife, I've told her, don't mistreat me to that level.
The one who pays the piper.
She will never listen to you, my dear.
All right.
Abigail,
as we conclude.
to my wife, don't take me that route.
Miriam.
Yes.
Come at 7. I want you not to speak to Onyali. I want you not to speak to Iowa.
Miriam.
Sack Ambassador Arikana. Yes.
Right. I want to make my
I totally agree with
Professor
you.
Wade. 100%.
Let Mr. Magaza finish up, and then Professor
There
can
is a guest here.
Okay.
Our guest down there, he wants to leave.
All right.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Magaza.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Right, this is very. I like the heat which it has generated. Such the issue of the African Union. My thinking from Ambassador Fagisi assertion is that our African leaders should first of all sit down as an entire continent or continental leaders and map out a strategy in which we have got to win Africa, that is to take out South Africa, Africa, from its sponsorship by the Western world so that it becomes independent. As long as we are dependent on foreign aid, we will continue to be at the mercy of the Western world because it will call the shots, since they will be the ones which will be, sponsoring the African Union. So at this juncture,
God bless you, my
my proposition is our African leaders at this time should regroup, find out how we can, make sure that it is totally financed by Africa, without France, Britain, the USA, China, and the rest, because those are the world superpowers who have got the resources. As we have always said, as Professor Fagan said, that one who has got the money is the one who calls the shot. Even if it is in the home, if it is the wife who has got the money, she calls the shot. If it is the husband, he is the one who calls the shot. So let's not take the wife that she's the one who is going to call the shots. Let us be the African leaders who are going to call the shots. And then from there, our voice will be heard loud and clear by the West. When we go to the United Nations, our voice will be heard as one united Africa, because we know that we are independent as an African continent who do not have to survive on handouts of the West. I think that is what we've got to do first. And then after that, now, we are able to tell any country to go away if it tries to interfere in African affairs, because we do not survive on their handouts or their freebies.
Thank you. Abigail, yes. I know you want to go.
Yes.
Make your parting shot. Are you the wife who controls the husband?
Whether we have the money or not, we still call the shots, Doctor. Does it matter? Abigail, go ahead.
Abigail.
We control ours and yours. Go ahead, Abigail.
Thank you so
Abigail,
much.
are you one of those who controls Zimbabwe?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. And I'm just learning it right now. This was just an eye opener. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And I'm shocked to also learn of this. It's a development to me that our African leaders are mostly, if not wholly, funded by the foreigners so that they are on a table to discuss the African agenda. Honestly, AU is just a meeting. It's an institution. And I think African leaders should not, of course, stoop so low to be funded, to be on the round table, to discuss your internal issues. It's a joke. I think this is what we can afford as Africa. We demand that African leaders take us a bit serious on that one, because honestly, it looks like a mockery. I think something can be done along those lines. I just want to attend to something as I go. The ambassador there touched on something on the issue of the gazelle and the lion, and I still think that I want to challenge him more to say we really now need to go down there as we go out there and begin to deal with what Saxon said, the identity crisis. Who is the hare? Who is the lion? Because as things stand right now, we are a mixed house. So when we say we cannot avoid speaking about the lion at the moment, it's about identity. Because among us, we have got lions. Among us, we have got the hare. So lest if we fail to identify clearly the features of a lion, we can dine and wine with a lion. We're thinking that they are our allies. So take note, we will not stop talking about the lion America, so that for the reason and for the purpose of identifying the real lion, for the purpose of cascading the message of alertness out there, so that we are clear on our points as we wage our struggle going forward. And of course, we need a clear African vision that should be defined on the table by our fathers, starting up there even as far as the AU, which should be independent indeed. And of course, this issue, Dr. Matsanga, the issue of a rich Africa that owns gold, that owns platinum, that owns almost everything, failing to fund a round table. To me, I think it's a mockery. It's something that we must take serious. It's a lobby that we must take serious, and so that we can gain our independence and our independence indeed. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga. Thank you, teams, for keeping on having this platform going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my sister. I will talk to you later on after the show. Thank you very much. We release you to go, and thank you very much, Magaza. I think you also want to go. And I don't. If you are still around, you can wait. The ambassador is going to make his parting shot,
Thank you.
and then Professor is going to summarize it for us. Thank you very much. God bless all of you. But
Thank you so much,
Harare,
Doctor.
thank you very much. In Harare, remain focused, remain strong, remain the same people. Don't allow an imaginary crisis to change your identity. You are an African and stand as an African. God will weigh you in, bring you in, keep you there. Thank you very much. God bless. Let's cross over to lastly.
Do we still have Lawrence, Doctor? Did he leave? Lawrence.
Lawrence left.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Now, Professor, there you are.
Thank you, Dr. Masanga. And
Ambassador Maina has challenged us today.
Yes, he has challenged us, and the truth, Dr. Masanga, will remain the truth. we have said here and every time and again. But what I know, Dr. Masanga, that Africa has got work to be done. We can't run away from it. The fact that we have started this conversation and discussion, Dr. Masanga, we are laying a basis and a foundation for the people of Africa. If we succeed in our lifetime, fine. If we don't, the beauty of it is that we have started the discussion. And Dr. Masanga, well, mine has challenged us. So now that the fact that they contribute 85% of the African budget, minor, do we just now stop that now they are paying? We are saying the injustice which have been done by the continent of Africa must stop. Even if it is not going to stop today, it will stop some point. But I've liked the examples and the analogies he has used. Africa will still remain like a cell. I was watching another episode the other day, Ambassador Minor, that the lion sometimes can sleep hungry. If the gazelle runs very fast, that day it sleeps hungry. It sleeps hungry. And I was watching again, they also went to attack the buffalo. The buffalo was so much hostile until they give away. Those analogies, the Ambassador Minor, are great and are a good example. We cannot rest that now that they are contributing. We know very well that all the resources they are returning back to Africa, they are coming from Africa. You rightly say that they cannot do away without Africa. And in fact, that's why I said, you gather and scatter. There is very little, Dr. Masanga, we can expect from Faki. He's a gatekeeper. You know how he entered in office. So there is no way, Dr. Masanga, that he can even raise a finger. If anything, he can even use his character. Ambassador Minor, we are not yet done with Faki. Have the American people, the Chinese, and the France and the UK allowed him to do sexual offenses in the office?
The question, right?
They have done those ones. Have the American people, the Chinese, the France, and the UK allowed him that you can shortlist yourself? Even if the Africans are not going to make it. That's why I agree with Dr. Masanga. The way he has carried himself, he has missed some steps. That's why we are giving him a critique. But I'm looking forward, Dr. Masanga, to a day that Africa will rise. But let me ask yourself, Muammar Gaddafi was talking about the United States of Africa. What did they do to him? They killed him. So Africa, we should have this kind of conversation, Minor. We should not give up. The fact that we are talking, they say the stone which starts roaring keeps on gathering momentum. Minor. Our generation, we can do the critique. The following generation will come to implement what we are critiquing. So we are perfectly right to critique what's going on in the African Union. I know beggars have got no choice but to take what they are given. At this point in time, we are beggars. But one day, it will be a wrestling. We will return, and I have no doubt. I have a lot of confidence in the young people of Africa. You live in France. Who are the best doctors? Who are the best engineers? Who are the best researchers? They are the people from the continent of Africa. That's why I said, when your mom has taken you to school, has fed you, has taken you until you become what you are, you become part of it, you start mocking your mom, you change the situation of your mom. Together, we can change Africa. Dr. Masanga, talking is doing something. Talking is taking action. The fact that we are talking, they are hearing. I know. The hyena said to the stone, I know you are not hearing, but as we have spoken, Dr. Masanga.
All right, and Doctor, before you came in, Professor, the other day we were having this conversation, and perhaps we can have it another time with the Ambassador there, the report from the UNDP about the money that Africa is losing. So as much as we're sitting here thinking of ourselves as beggars, and that report is very damning. You remember, Professor, we were talking about it?
Yes,
the
100 billion
but this
dollars.
we are taking from the continent. So,
we could
actually afford to fund African Union if we had proper leadership in the continent. But that is a subject for another time. Doctor, go ahead.
Mine, I want to report and we finish.
We shall have it back. So perhaps...
I want to add something.
Yes, as you conclude. Yes.
Can I add something?
Go ahead. Your final submission.
You are talking about the report that 100 billion is missing from Africa. And that's, I'm very glad that you people understand exactly what is your own problem. You are blaming somebody, but you don't even know your own problem. If you can take money to go and buy houses in UK, in United States, in China, in Dubai, you are taking your school to Harvard University and you complain these white people are manipulators. Who is intelligent? Who is dumb? This is simple question. How can I take my money from Chad, bring it to Kenya? I'm complaining about Kenyan government. Am I intelligent? I loot money. I'm an ambassador in Chad. I take almost $100 million, come and buy nice house in Nairobi, driving Lamborghini. I'm complaining about Uhuru. Am I intelligent or I'm dumb? Come on, guys. It's simple as easy, and we need to go to school to learn those kind of things. The issue is we are the problem. When Chinese decide to be very powerful, they never make noise, they never criticize, they never ask anything. When they close everything, they start working very, very hard. They say that we don't want to depend on anybody. At the end of the day, it takes them less than 20 years to be powerful. Inside of us, me and you and Ambassador Matanga, wasting our time to blame Musa Faki or Jesus, why we cannot come together to close ourselves, to start brainstorming ourselves, working very, very hard to say that in 10 years, I need someone to give me penny. I don't want someone to send me rice. I don't want to send me flour. I don't want to drive somebody's car. I don't want to fly with any other body aircraft. I need to do my own. I don't want to sell my oil. I want to use my own oil. Simple ABC. We can't do that. They will spend our time on blaming. We are 60 years now. Since you are 1 year old, you are blaming. Until 60, you are blaming. You will blame until 122. So for the next 100 years, either we like it or not, if we continue with this system, the white people will colonize us. They will manipulate us. They will do what they want. As long as you don't have a job, if your wife fitting the bill, you have to follow her rules, my dear. Tell Dr. Matanga. If you are the one fitting the bill at home, he have to follow your rules. Even when the kid go to school, they start working. Mom is the boss.
Mom is the boss.
And let me even remind you, in our system, they say that if you are very old and you cannot fit the bill at home, your wife will determine what kind of gasket they are going to bury you with. Because she's the one paying the gasket. That's what African people or white people are doing with us. They are the one determining our future.
And the gasket.
Now, and yeah, if now we want to go ahead, we want to change, let us sit down then. Let us go work very hard. Let us forget about democracy is not for us. It's just, even the Greece was creating democracy in a failed state. How can you create something and you cannot even maintain it and we will copy you? Are we intelligent? Democracy is coming from Greece. Greece is one of the failed countries in the world. How are we following them? We say democracy. What is democracy? It's just going out and writing in newspaper or just talking on the TV or sending Facebook. Is that what you call democracy? Today, me, as Pan-African, I can tell you that we need to take example of Russia. Yes. After the breaking of Soviet Union, Russia find out that if we do not come back to ourselves, take out our integrity, work very hard, the world will blame us. Look at, either you like Vladimir Putin or not, he's a leader because he tell our people that leave all those nonsense these white people are feeding you, the Western. Let us work very hard, become very powerful. At the end of the day, either the Western people like it or not, they have to deal with Russia. Am I right or wrong? They have to deal with China. Why we cannot do the same? Why we cannot copy these things to say that we wake up in the morning, we say we don't want France, we don't want UK. You have to negotiate with us. We don't want America. Vladimir Putin can go to your friend. Either you are my friend or not, we can survive. He can tell it to France. He can tell it to UK. He can tell it to NATO. Why not we?
Can't say it yet.
Have you seen that one day Russia have a problem and Russia is expecting the World Bank to bail them out? See, in COVID-19, have you heard that World Bank or IMF have given money to Russia? Why is giving to Africa? Why is giving to Chad? Is giving to Kenya? And you want to talk? What are you talking about? Someone is feeding you a bill. Someone is giving you everything. And you don't want them to set your rules.
My God.
Come on, let's wake up. We have to leave Musa Faki on the side to see the reality first. For me, Musa Faki is not a big deal. If you want, we can compare to put Ambassador Matsanga in AU. But when we give him 2 years, I know, Professor, you will hate him. Because you will start criticizing Ambassador. You tell that he has changed now. See, he's flying with private jet. He's corrupt with white people because you don't know the system. The system comes with the rules. And when you fly... Guys, thank you so much for the debate.
Okay.
I think we have learned a lot. Okay.
So even if,
let me move on.
Even if
I'm saying, Abigail or Miriam, I'm saying one thing. You cannot be a pilot of Airbus 380 and you like to fly it like Fokker F-24. No. For this rule, the speed, the altitude, the number of people they weigh is coming exactly. So that's how what people design this AU. They have set of rules. Whoever is the pilot have to take the rules. You cannot land in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport if the control tower has never give you the altitude to fly and what time you land. You will never land.
Okay.
I want us to wake up now to leave those things on the side of us. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? I say it 3 times. For me, I spend all my life with Western people. I find out that they are dumber than us, but there's something they have. They know what they want. Western white people are dumber than African, but they are more intelligent than in one thing. If white man is say he want to do something, he will do it until he die. There is no failure with them. They know what they want. African people, we don't have plans. We don't have goals. We don't have agenda. Forget about dreams. We don't have that. Someone is setting for us. This is simple. That's why I cannot be part of any blame. I can't blame any African countries. I am blaming all globally. Dr. Machanga is saying, how come I want to travel to South Africa as Africans? They are asking me all those documents to give me a visa. But me, Ambassador Minor, when I come with France or UK passport, I land in South Africa, in Johannesburg or Tambo without any visa. They tell me, welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. And you as African, they cannot tell you welcome. Why? Simple. Let us think about basic things. For us, we are just a blaming. Blaming is not a part of solution. Do you know that now, me as a Chadian, if I want to go to Zimbabwe, I need a visa? Simple. Zimbabwe here. I need a visa.
And they will ask you.
My grandmother birth certificate.
You have money. Yet you
if I have money
to pay for salaries.
All right.
Okay.
We shall bring the good ambassador next time.
Ambassador is here with us. He watches our shows. And Ambassador, first of all, I want to thank you very much for joining us from Paris. And we did not know you're in Paris. Next time, you should always drop a note for me. I could have actually put you there to analyze President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit to Paris and how successful it was. But thank you very much, my dear brother. You are an inspiration to this show. Today you have brought in so many things, gazelle, lion, wife. But do you know what? The things you have touched are the real things of Africa. What we go through, especially as men, when you are not working, you are even told to come at what time you should be actually in the bedroom or in the sitting room sitting. Yeah, it's sad. You have brought the thing of the speed, which speed Africa should go. You can't fly a Fokker to Airbus. So, I mean, you know, as much as I had several bad things in my heart waiting for Musa Faki, I also have to share some blame to some of our own self-made problems.
Inflicted.
We have not set out to find priorities. That's why they create a crisis in the AU and they come and chase us, then they eat the honey. You know, that is Onyari. You brought up something very important for this show. They chase the bees, then they hit the honey. Exactly. The gazelle says, my meat is very all right. Don't eat Uhuru's meat. Magufuli is saying, don't go to Kenya, come to Tanzania. Have you seen the problem we have here now? You are from Chad, you want to go to Zimbabwe. Don't come. Bring a visa with your father's name. When did your father get the name? First, don't come to South Africa when you are. We have no, one younger man on this panel said crisis of identity crisis.
Mm.
We don't know what we want. We don't know where we live. We even discriminate ourselves amongst ourselves, Africans.
And we don't have an agenda there as
We
ambassador.
don't have agenda. The agenda is not there. It's set by somebody in Europe. He says this year we want to give Africa $50 billion. $50 billion, let them divide each other. A man brought masks. One Chinese man brought masks. Is that not degrading for us?
Jack Ma.
He brought masks.
And they disappeared.
And some Africans started fighting over the masks.
No, stealing and selling.
So are we
Last
not?
time we was chatting on the Dr. Machanga group. I was saying people that if Africans want to be independent, we have to use the mind of Donald Trump. You need to be bold. You need to attack everybody. You need to be a lion. You need to hit everyone on your way. This is how you can't be free. We are this soft on idea.
The whole brain
you
of
have to
Donald
have
Trump
the
is
mind
just
of
a bit
Donald
different.
Trump.
My friend, you are one of my best friends. You know why? I've been telling people in Kenya on national television, even yesterday morning, I said, you want it or you don't want it, Trump is going to eat his way back to the White House.
Because he's the only person who challenged politicians. He's not bad. He challenged them. He put them to the wall. You know, he's calling American politicians babies. He said they are babies. They are full of lies. They don't know what they want. So we Africans, we need to challenge these people. We need to push them. We need to work very hard on ourselves. But if you are expecting everything very soft and you want to be free, you can't be free, my dear. That's not true.
Right, very well. Thank you. So I don't know if you need to borrow the whole of his mind as part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Live well. When you are ready to come, call me. Send me a
We will
message.
be around in Kenya in less than a week. I will be in Kenya. It's my home.
Yes, there's my perfume that I want from there. I also want to
African one or Western one? You want the African perfume or the Western perfume? You want the African one or the Western
I
one?
don't want to say here, and Miriam will report.
You see, Dr.
You need to say it so that we can judge him. All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Professor, thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Today we have had a very serious, interactive African Day, African Tuesday. Is for Africa to unite, for Africa to come together. If you have a topic anywhere in Africa, wherever you are, send it to us. We shall bring you in. Don't forget, we are still with Mr. Harvey. We are on you. A woman has just come up to say Mr. Harvey did a lot of uncoordinated troop movement and has not been paying for the damages. I told you I will finish. The grandson of Mabutu Sese Seko, Benge Wagabanga Ndingo. Yes, the man he has got that Harvey. What is it Harvey? What is his name Harvey? I have not heard of anybody in Kakamega called Harvey.
Harrison Harvey.
Nelson Harvey.
Harrison.
Is there any other person in Kakamega called Harvey? Harvey is married. Where is Harvey? A woman by name has now come up to say they have a baby and the man does not want to help. So she has put it on social media. The life goes on. Whatever you goes on around, holding everywhere, comes back like a gazelle.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Comes back like a gazelle. Thank you. God bless you. God bless all of you. God bless everybody. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television. Today we've made it. Miriam, I am gone.
All right, me too. But we have to thank Mr. Maganza. We have to thank Abigail. We have to thank
They've gone.
Motion.
They're all gone. I thanked them.
And we have to thank Lawrence and everybody else, and Professor Daniel was not here present today. And of course, Ambassador Minor. Thank you so much. I think I'll see you later at 3 p.m. with the Diaspora Dispatches.
Not
or
me.
Show.
You.
I said I will. Yes.
You struggle it on your own.
Thank you.
I have finished. I'm gone.
All right, thank you so much. So I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. with the African News on the Diaspora Dispatches show. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Have a very good day.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.